Hello, everyone. So we have made it to the final chapter. Yay, chapter 23. And in chapter 23, we're going to look at how the modern world was shaped in the 20th and early 21st century. So this period is really defined by four major forces: rapid population growth, massive movement of people, changing cultural identities, and a growing human impact on the environment. And all of these are connected, and together they help explain the world that we are living in today. So let's start with population growth. The 20th century saw something that had never happened before in human history, a population explosion. So the global population grew rapidly, especially in developing countries. And if you are from the United States, think of like what we consider third world countries. And why did this happen? Well, first, people were living longer because of all the medical advances that were made, better sanitation, and improved food supply. Second, agriculture improved through what's called the Green Revolution, which increased food production. But by the end of the century, population began to slow down. So why? And your book talks about that a little bit. Birth control became more available, so people could choose. Women gained more access to education and careers, kind of putting off childbirth, and it became more expensive to raise large families. So even though the population is still growing, the rate of population has slowed. Next, your book is going to look at movement and people in motion, talking about migration and urbanization. And more people are on the move than ever before. So one major trend is urbanization, or the movement of people into cities. So moving from countryside into a major city. Cities grew rapidly after the year 1900 because fewer workers were needed in agriculture. More jobs were available in urban areas. And as a result of those things, cities offered better healthcare and infrastructure, but they also created challenges like overcrowding, pollution, and inequality. So at the same time, people began migrating across countries and even across continents. And this is what we call global migration. And people move for different reasons. They move for jobs, they move for safety, they move for better opportunities. But again, that creates challenges too. And one of the biggest is balancing keeping your original culture and while adapting to a new one. Also, because we are a global world and we are globally connected, disease is an issue. So as the world became even more connected, diseases spread faster than ever before. Go back to the early 1900s, 1918, with the Spanish flu, the flu outbreak. All those soldiers were returning home after World War I. They had all been together. Now they're going back to their countries, and everyone got the flu, right? Which COVID is a lot like the flu, just amped up, right? So this has happened before, and almost 100 years later, we see it happening again with COVID. We also have the spread of HIV and AIDS in the 1980s. So because people travel more, diseases can spread globally in a very short amount of time. And you have organizations like the WHO, called WHO, or World Health Organization. Were created to manage global health. COVID-19, though, it did show us something important. Even with our modern technology, humans are still vulnerable to nature. Let's talk about identity for a minute. In the modern world, identity has become more complex. We see this through race, nationalism, religion, popular culture, and I'm going to even throw gender in there. I don't think your book covers gender, but that is another thing that really we're starting to identify. And even though race has been scientifically disproven as a biological category, like race doesn't make you smarter, it still plays a powerful role socially and politically in how we judge people and our biases that we bring to the table. And at the same time, nationalism, loyalty to one's nation, remains a strong force. Globalization, however, is changing that. People are now exposed to cultures from all over the world through music, through movies, through food, through social media. And this creates a lot of learning opportunities, but it also creates a lot of tension because we don't understand it. And a lot of times people are fearful of what they don't understand. So some people embrace that global culture. Others worry about losing their traditional identity, again, because they don't understand. Religion is another important part of the story. At one point, many people believed religion would decline as science advanced, but that didn't actually fully happen. Instead, we saw the spread of major world religions and the rise of fundamentalism. So like very strict interpretation, like literal interpretation of like sacred texts. It's like literal interpretation of the Bible, literal interpretation of the Quran, and so on. And fundamentalism is a reaction to a lot of those modern changes. It often emphasizes like tradition, strict beliefs, and resistance to this globalization. And that too has played a major role in politics and conflicts around the world. There's also human impact on the environment. Human activity has transformed the planet on a massive scale. The main causes of that: population growth, industrialization, and expanding agriculture. And as a result, we've seen deforestation, pollution, loss of biodiversity, and environmental degradation. And for the first time in history, humans are affecting the entire planet, not just local environments. One of the biggest issues today is climate change. This is caused by greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, burning of fossil fuels, industrial activity. And the effects include rising global temperatures, melting of our ice caps, stronger storms, droughts, and changing ecosystems. This isn't just an environmental issue, it's a global challenge that affects economies, politics, and everyday life. In response, we've seen the rise of environmentalism, and this is a global movement focused on protecting the planet. Books like Silent Spring raise awareness, grassroots activism, and protests. We also see international agreements like the Paris Climate Agreement. Again, with all that, there's still going to be challenges to that. Not all countries agree on how to solve these environmental problems. Developing nations often argue that they should be allowed to grow economically just like the wealthier countries already did. So what does this all mean? It means that the modern world is shaped by the following things: more people than ever before, constant movement and migration, changing identities in a globalized world, and a powerful human impact on the environment. All of these forces are deeply connected and they raise very important questions. Can humans balance growth and progress with sustainability and global responsibility? That will be one of the biggest challenges of our time.